For the past 6 years, the Xbox Series S has been one of the best value gaming machines you can buy. Compared to most $350 pre-built PCs on the market today, it honestly still wins. So today, I'm setting myself a pretty tough challenge. With half of that budget, just $200, can I build a gaming PC that actually beats the Xbox Series S? This isn't about brand loyalty or specs on paper. It's about real performance, real games, and real-world value. Let's find out if a budget PC can do the impossible. At the moment, new PC hardware prices are going up pretty fast. Because of that, using used parts to build a PC has become a more reasonable and smarter choice than ever. I know a lot of you are still worried about buying used hardware, mainly because we can't really guarantee long-term durability. But in reality, all of the PCs I've built with used parts so far are still running very reliably today. And for this build, I've decided to go with a Xeon-based platform. Most of you are probably very familiar with builds using Intel Core i CPU or AMD Ryzen. Their performance is solid, there's no question about that. However, the biggest downside right now is the price, which is becoming harder and harder to justify. That's exactly why I chose Xeon for this build. In terms of real-world performance, Xeon CPU are not inferior to standard desktop systems, as long as you choose the right chip. To enjoy smooth gaming, you don't necessarily need a CPU with tons of cores and threads. What really matters more is clock speed and stability under heavy load. This time I went with the Xeon E52680V4 CPU with 14 cores and 28 threads and a maximum boost clock of around 3.3 GHz. Right now, you can easily find this chip on eBay for around $14. On top of that, Xeon V4 CPU support PCIe Gen 3 with a large number of lanes, allowing powerful GPU to run at full bandwidth. You could also consider Xeon V3 CPU, which often have higher clock speeds. However, when it comes to long-term stability and sustained turbo performance, Xeon V4 is still the better choice overall. Next, let's talk about the motherboard. This CPU uses the LGA 2011 socket, so the most common and popular platform is X99. That said, official X99 motherboards are still quite expensive today, and since the main goal of this build is gaming, I'm not going to choose an official motherboard, because it doesn't directly affect gaming performance. Instead, I went with a Chinese-made X99 OEM motherboard. These boards are much more affordable and are well-suited for budget gaming builds. To keep costs low, OEM motherboards usually cut back on some extra features. However, the essential connections are still there. Of course, when it comes to long-term reliability, they can't really compete with official boards. But at around $32, this is still the most reasonable choice for a budget gaming PC. Right now, RAM prices are still pretty high, so for the moment, I'm going to stick with a single 16GB DDR4 stick running at 2133 MHz. Once RAM prices become more reasonable, I can easily add another 16GB stick later on to run dual channel. I picked up this RAM for $42. For CPU cooling, I'm using a 4-heat pipe air cooler, since I already have quite a few coolers on hand. This time I'm reusing an older Cooler Master cooler. I originally bought this cooler for around $9 during a previous build, and it's still been working very reliably up to now. When it comes to storage, I'll be using a 512GB SSD. My needs aren't very demanding. I mainly just need space for the operating system and a few basic games, so this capacity is more than enough for me. If you need more storage, you can always upgrade to a 1TB drive in the future. I bought this 512GB SSD for $22. Next up is the GPU selection. With a limited budget, there are quite a few options to consider, such as the GTX 1066GB, GTX 1660 Super, GTX 970, or the RX 588GB. This time I decided to prioritize larger RAM so I went with the RX 588GB. Right now on eBay, this card goes for around $60. Of course, with such a low price, the RX 580 does come with some risks. The main reason is that this card was widely used for crypto mining in the past. That said, when you look at performance per dollar, the RX 5808GB is still one of the most worthwhile options in this price range, and the final component for this build is the power supply. For this setup, I'm using a 550 watt PSU. This wattage is not only enough for the current configuration, but it also gives me room to upgrade the GPU in the future. The power supply was around $30, and I bought it a long time ago, so I don't remember the exact price anymore. All of these components will be installed in an older case that I already have. If you want the PC to look nicer, you can always invest in a new case later on. Now let's move on to performance testing. Since Xbox consoles always lock FPS at either 60 or 120, along with pre-optimized resolutions for each game, performance is very tightly controlled, which helps keep gameplay smooth and consistent. Because of that, in this round of testing, I'll also lock the FPS at 60 or 120 to see how this PC compares in real-world use. Let's start with Fortnite. On the Xbox Series S, there aren't the same DirectX options like on PC. So for the 60 frames per second lock test, I'll be using DirectX 12 to get the best visual quality. As you can see here, the frame rate is very smooth and stable, with no frame drops at all. The visuals look great, very close to what you get on the Xbox Series S. Even during intense firefights, there are no sudden FPS drops. Now I'll remove the FPS cap, and honestly, almost nothing changes. Everything still feels extremely smooth, with FPS sitting around 80 to 90. Next, I'll switch to a 120 frames per second lock. To reach 120 frames per second, the Xbox usually reduces visual quality and prioritizes performance. So I'll switch to performance mode here. In this mode, stability is still quite good, and visually, the Xbox Series S actually does a really good job. Once I remove the FPS cap, the FPS now ranges between 180 and 200 frames per second. Even at these high frame rates, the system remains stable with no noticeable frame drops. Now let's move on to The Witcher 3. I'll be playing at 1080p with the FPS locked at 60. With these settings, the frame rate stays stable throughout the entire session, and frame drops are almost non-existent. In terms of visual quality, the PC actually looks slightly better than the Xbox Series S, especially when it comes to shadows and visual effects. And when I disable the FPS cap, the experience is still very smooth and stable, with FPS hovering around 70 to 80 frames per second. Next up is Tomb Raider. I'm playing at 1080p with the FPS locked at 60. At these settings, the system handles the game very smoothly, with completely stable frame rates. Throughout the entire gameplay session, there are no frame drops at all. When it comes to visual quality, this setup looks on par with the Xbox Series S. Once I unlock the FPS, the experience remains very smooth and stable. At this point, the FPS consistently sits around 100 frames per second. And finally, I tested GTA 5. I locked the FPS at 60, but with this game, the system starts to struggle. The experience feels unstable, with noticeable input lag. The FPS isn't consistent and fluctuates quite a bit. For this particular title, the Xbox handles it more smoothly and consistently. From real-world testing, it's clear that this setup can handle games at 1080p very comfortably. Overall, when comparing performance to the Xbox Series S, the PC does have a slight advantage in raw performance. When the FPS is locked at 60, this PC runs games extremely stably. However, when targeting 120 FPS, the Xbox Series S actually does a better job. That said, this is just my personal opinion. not a direct performance comparison. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel for more budget PC builds, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos.